Hello, YouTube. Hello to you, YouTube in the chat, and those of you watching on the VOD. This is your host, Shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, bringing yet another edition of Shintigercurl Streamin. It is Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. My folks are busy watching the Democratic National Convention going on, and of course, Kamala Harris about to be officially nominated as the official Democratic nominee for the President of the United States. So, yeah, and it sounds like a pretty good time. So, but with that out of the way, but of course, we're not going to be talking about that. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the SCP Foundation. But before we get to the scary, spooky, and creepy stuff, it's time to, it's that time again. Time to pull out your guns, lock and load, because it's time to shoot the shit. Got quite a bit of stuff to talk about this week. Of course, we got to talk about upcoming this week on Sunday, as AEW heads back to Wembley Stadium for All In 2024, and hopefully it won't be as controversial or problematic as it was last year. And we had one of our matches being settled for this week after a very impressive Collision tag team match between the Acclaimed, the newer, darker Acclaimed versus FTR. The winners would face off against the Nicholas and Matthew Jackson, the Young Bucks, for the AEW tag team titles. The match went a Broadway, 34 minutes, and it was announced just that day that by Tony Khan that it would be for the first time ever a triple threat match for the AEW tag team titles this Sunday at Wembley. And we'll do a nice little preview, hopefully this Thursday coming up. On the WWE side, it turns out that the rivalry and sheer bitterness and hatred between the player hater of the year candidate Drew McIntyre and CM Punk has reached violent levels, and they have selected a match that is the only way to solve the problems. Because CM Punk said, Drew McIntyre, the steel cage wasn't the answer. Having Seth Rollins as our special guest referee wasn't the answer to the problems. And that was as I was going back home to Chicago, and I walked past that dog carrier, and I looked down at Larry the dog, and he looked up at me, and he barked out the words, Yappa Pie. That's when I knew. The Yappa Pie Indian strap match, dude! That's right. The next pay-per-view, it will be CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre strap match. Not a Yappa Pie Indian strap match, but we can only dream. And we continue to get more teases for the eventual breakup and dissolution of the New Day, as it seems that Xavier Woods is not too happy with Ofe or Ofi, I can't not pronounce his name. Whoever he is, Xavier is not happy with him. He's not Big E. But then again, nobody's Big E. So, Matty J, if you're watching this, I want you to preload the torpedoes. Preload the missiles, full spread. I want that ready. On the manga front, One Piece has finally ended the Egghead Island arc with the last one. Odyssey Jones, I was thinking of somebody else. Thank you, Brother Ball. One Piece has ended the one of its most mind-blowing arcs in a long time. The Egghead Island arc has come to an official end. Next stop, Elbaf. The Island of Giants. And I know Usopp is very happy because he has spent nearly his entire time in the story wanting to go to Elbaf, and we're finally going to Elbaf. And there are going to be a lot of consequences from what happened on Egghead Island. I'm not going to spoil anything because T-Dub is still watching the anime and he's still on Fishman Island, so he hasn't even reached, he is nowhere near Elbaf. Also saw some preliminary images, some leaked images online of the next chapter of Hunter x Hunter. Yes, you heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. A new chapter of Hunter x Hunter is about to be dropped. And it is only a single panel of the panel that's been released I've seen so far of Gene Freaks throwing hands with somebody. Who it is, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. In more entertainment news, Disney Star Wars' latest offering, The Acolyte, has been canceled. Reported today. The Acolyte, amid shitty reviews and even shittier views, has been canceled, and I could not be happier. Now, before anyone says I am not a homophobe or a transphobe or against women or any of that other stuff, I just don't happen to like. I dislike poorly told stories with poorly written characters. So yeah, that. See, the last good thing of Disney Star Wars I ever enjoyed was The Bad Batch. Everybody knows my love of The Bad Batch. I love The Bad Batch. The Bad Batch is incredible. It's up there with the Clone Wars in terms of character writing and storytelling. Fantastic stuff. How can you go from that to The Acolyte? I will never know. And I do not want to know. And speaking of animated series, last week, I forgot to mention this, I just finished watching Amazon Prime's Batman the Caped Crusader, a different take or a spiritual sequel to Batman the Animated Series. And it's got some pretty big names attached to it behind the scenes. Bruce Timm, one of the great minds behind BTAS, as well as Matt Reeves, the director behind The Batman, the movie. And unfortunately, one of the executive producers is J.J. Abrams. My overall thoughts of the show? I did not care for it. I did not care for it at all. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't hate it. It just was bland. It was boring, and it had a lot of problems. Before anyone says this, because I know some people are going to say this, it has nothing to do with, I have no problems with a female version of Penguin. I have no problems with Harley Quinn and Renee Montoya being in a relationship. Of course, Renee Montoya is gay in the comics, and Harley Quinn is bisexual in the comics. And I have no problems with Harley Quinn being Asian. It's just a lot of things with the presentation of it all. She is originally Dr. Harleen Quinzel, psychologist and what have you, but she dresses up like Harley Quinn and makes rich people give away their yeah, that's true, LPH. The last ones were hit and miss. Like I said, Bad Batch was a hit. The rest of it was misses. Yeah, but Harley dresses like, well, Harley Quinn for no good goddamn reason. She has no connection to the Joker. In fact, the Joker doesn't even appear until the very, very last minute of the last episode of the season. And not even a full view of him. He's just in silhouette, like he's a tease. And we really don't get too much into the... And Renee and Harley don't even have that much of a relationship. Harley kind of chases after her, and they go on one date, they share one kiss, and after that she has to leave town because Batman figured out her secret of psychologically breaking rich people and making them give away their money. I have no problem with Black Commissioner Gordon. Jeffrey Wright was amazing in The Batman. This one is just boring. Black Barbara Gordon, boring. They had Firefly, barely did anything with him. They had Clayface, interesting take, didn't do anything with him. Femme Penguin, didn't really add anything to the character, was there for one episode, then she was gone. One of the few things I will say that's good about it is some of the art designs are very reminiscent of BTAS, and it actually introduced Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is an assassin created by Kevin Smith for the Green Arrow line of comic books when he was writing for Green Arrow, and his whole thing is he could perfectly he speaks entirely in onomatopoeias except for saying his name. Like, he would imitate sounds like dripping water or a door closing or wood creaking and stuff like that. And unfortunately in the show it comes off of him just saying stuff like when he steps off a bus or train, I can't remember which, he just says dun dun dun. And when he's fighting Batman, he just makes sound effects like whoosh, pow, biff, bam, kapow, kachak. Well, not kachak, but there were one or two episodes that I did enjoy, like one involving some orphans who all were named after all the Robins. You had Jason Todd, you had Dick Grayson, you had Stephanie Brown, and you had old Chicken Legs from The Dark Knight Strikes from The Dark Knight Returns. So those were some good ones. That was a nice little nods. But Batman, how do you make a bland Batman? As Batman, he just wasn't. Like, he just comes off as very emotionless and very. I mean, I've seen versions of that Batman that do that, but it just. I think the one thing that really sets it off for me as far as Batman goes is the fact that he calls Alfred Pennyworth for 99% of the show. He just calls him Pennyworth. He doesn't call him Alfred until like the very end of the first season, in the very last episode. And up until then, he just treats him like a regular ass butler. And there were some very creepy moments in Caped Crusader. One of them is after Bruce's parents die, and he kind of just shuts down, and Alfred is trying to cheer him up. And then one night, while Alfred is sleeping, Bruce just appears in his room, all with his eyes wide open, looking very, very creepery, and he says, "I'm gonna make them pay. I'm gonna make them all pay, and you're gonna help me." And he just closes the door, and Alfred was like, "What the actual fuck was that?" So it was just very off-putting that he would treat Alfred like that. Like, the dude is his surrogate father. He always treats him like a father, not just a butler, as a father figure. He's treating him like a butler. I gotta understand that, but overall, I wouldn't recommend the show. I mean, I've seen worse, but I've actually seen better. If you want some lesser-known Batman shows to watch, The Batman, early 2000s animated series, very good watch. And also Batman the Brave and the Bold. Couldn't recommend that enough. Fantastic stuff. Outside of that, I don't know what else to talk about, so I think we're just gonna move it right along. And let me see who the hell is texting me. Oh, that was just Devil. He says he won't be able to. He has to do inventory tonight, but he will check out the VOD. So you'll be able to listen to this Devil. Devil works way too hard. The guy just works way too hard. Also, before we get started, a quick shout out to Mike Shell for his timely donation of $25. It was enough to keep my account open because I didn't have enough money to keep my account open, or until the bank started taking funds from me. So there's that. So he saved my bank account for at least another month, or at least until I can actually get some money, which I really need after the hurricane. But alright. Alrighty then, it's time to get what Brother Ball. You already know what we're here for. We're gonna talk about. We're talking about the SCP Foundation. Yes, sir. If you don't know, actually, I'm not sure why I'm using this particular version of the thing, so I'm gonna switch this one out right quick. If I could find it, there it is. That's not the right one, damn it. Oh wait, this is the wrong folder. There we are. Done and done. And of course, let's of course, we gotta transform this shit. There we go. All right. We're gonna be doing some SC. I've been actually wanting to dig into the SCP Foundation for a while, and just to do something as a small little project for it. And it's a good enough time for any. I need some content on my channel so I can at least earn enough so I can finally get paid for YouTube. Second time ever. But yeah, Okay, as a quick explanation, there are two separate explanations about the SCP Foundation that you really need to know. First and foremost, the SCP Foundation is actually a communicative fan project created by dozens, if not hundreds, of people from around the world, adding to a massive Wikipedia article about a fictional universe and a fictional foundation in a fictional universe with its own lore and different and unique stories involved with it. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of individual articles and submissions to this particular website. I first learned this from Down the Rabbit Hole, a video done about it, and I found it interesting, so I actually did dig deep into it. And what I found is actually pretty chilling, heartwarming, and just plain creepy. But for an official explanation, the second official explanation of the SCP Foundation within the universe is the SCP Foundation in its own universe is a massive global organization operating in the shadows that have agencies across the entire world. The Foundation's main goal is to find, study, contain, and if possible, eliminate phenomena that go beyond the standards of human understanding and break the laws of physics. This doesn't happen to be people. It can also be animals. It could be inanimate objects. It could be places, ideas, locations, and even things that are beyond the solar system. And that's just how they do it. Typically, now every major government in the entire world has in some way some connection to the Foundation. I just adjust the music a little bit. Had to create some ambience for this. Whenever a law enforcement organization or government body encounters something that could be classified as an SCP, they often will contact the Foundation. They will dispatch agents, and they will see if the object is indeed anomalous, and they will attempt to either contain it or eliminate it if need be. Now, I'm going to bring up the actual wiki here. The Foundation's its history is completely a mystery. It's purposefully left obtuse. When the Foundation was founded, how it was founded, who it was founded, and why it was founded, we don't know. It's kept purposely obtuse, although there are a lot of stories in the wiki that do kind of dig into the history of the Foundation, but not too deep, just enough to keep you on your toes and wanting you to guess. Hold on for a second. Alright, I'm back. My mom had to ask me for something. That's okay. But anyway. The Foundation itself is not malevolent. It does not have any kind of aspirations for world domination. It could if it wanted to, but it just doesn't. That's what SCP stands for, and it's on the screen right now. Secure, contain, protect. Secure anomalies, contain them, and protect humanity from them if need be. Now, I'm going to the wiki itself to get these officially. Now, all SCPs, or anomalies that they have, or skips as they're called, have different object classes, determining how dangerous they are and how stringent the containment procedures that are needed for them. Technically, there are 3, but there are secondary classes. I'll get to those in a bit. So, we'll talk about the first 3. Okay, first and foremost, we have safe. Safe is the very lowest category for any SCP. According to the wiki, safes are anomalies that are easily and safely contained and understood. This is often due to the fact that the Foundation has researched the SCP well enough that containment requiring significant resources are not necessary, or that the anomaly requires specific triggers or conscious activations in order to activate their classifications. While it is classified as safe, that does not mean that handling or activating them doesn't make them dangerous. It just means so long as you know what you're doing when handling them or handling with them with kid gloves, this particular one is safe. I've seen articles where safe SCPs can be kept inside of a drawer, in a hallway, or in a mess tent, or in a broom closet, or in someone's desk drawer. So long as you know the triggers and understand what that SCP is about, it's perfectly harmless. So long as you know what you're doing. Second are Euclids. Euclids are in between the top and the bottom, perfectly midway. These are the anomalies that require more resources to contain, or when a regular containment isn't always reliable. This is because the Foundation has insufficiently understands or the SCP in question, or is inherently unpredictable. Euclid within the greater scope are usually a safe bet. Euclids is an object class with the greatest scope, and is usually the safest bet for an SCP in this class that doesn't fall to the very high or the very lowest in object classes. As of note, any SCP that is autonomous or sapient are generally classified as Euclid due to inherent unpredictability due to that object being able to act and think on its own. And finally, we have Ketters. Ketters are the highest class of containment for an SCP. These are ones that are exceedingly difficult to contain consistently or reliably, with containment procedures often being very extensive and complex and requiring an extreme amount of resources. The Foundation often cannot contain these SCPs well enough due to not having a full understanding of the anomaly or a lack of the technology to properly contain it, or even in some cases being unable to physically contain them due to their power and or size. So now a Keter isn't necessarily dangerous. It doesn't mean it's always dangerous. It just means that they are very, very hard to contain. Now whenever I'm reading these articles, they will always fall into one of these three categories. But there are other categories. The next one up is called Thaumiel. Thaumiel are anomalies that the Foundation specifically uses to contain other SCPs. And generally, Thaumiels are Ketters that are completely beneficial to humanity in some form or capacity. So they're very powerful, but they're very beneficial to humanity, as I mentioned. Abalone are anomalies that cannot be contained, are expected to breach containment immediately if containment is tried, or some similar scenario. Such anomalies are usually associated with XK class scenarios, meaning that they are a world-ending threat and require the entire Foundation's resource pool to deal with. Archons are anomalies that are theoretically can theoretically be contained, but are best left alone for whatever reason. And we have Ticonderogas, which cannot be contained, but also don't need to be contained, meaning that while they are exceptionally powerful, they aren't necessarily a threat. Now, we have other classes where they are non-standard object classes. These are ones that are given to ones that are completely explained or understood. And starting with explained. If an entry is given explained, it means that the Foundation has a complete and total understanding of the SCP in question, where their effects can be explainable to mainstay science, or their phenomena has either been debunked or falsely mistaken as an anomaly. Neutralized are anomalies that are no longer anomalous, that have either been intentionally or accidentally destroyed or disabled. Decommissioned SCPs are anomalies that were intentionally destroyed or stripped of their anomalous properties by the Foundation for whatever reason. Pending are articles that are not assigned an object class due to O5 Council needing to have them pending their classification. And uncontained are SCPs that are not assigned an object class, but in some ways are used in place of an object class to emphasize that an ongoing effort is to establish or restore containment. So those are the basic containment classes for the SCP Foundation, for SCPs in general. They will, while though all those classifications are noted, nearly every and almost all the articles that I will read here on this VOD are in some ways will be designated either safe, Euclid, or Keter. You will very rarely get out of that range. So yeah, there's that. As far as the faculty are concerned, they're divided up into levels. The highest echelon of power within the Foundation is the O5 Council. The O5 Council are the dominant rulers and final authority figures within the Foundation. They have final say over everything that happens within the Foundation. Their identities are a mystery, and it is assumed that they know the most about the Foundation as a whole. And of those who want to know more about the Foundation or need to watch or look up articles need an O5 Council member's express written permission. There are even some SCPs that aren't even known to the regular bog standard folks because only the Foundation, only the O5 Council knows about it. Next, we have researchers, who are, as the name says, scientists who research and study the various SCPs. Now, there are a lot of scientists who do study other SCPs more broadly, but there are some who specialize in a particular SCP or a particular type of SCP, like animals or people with anomalous abilities or reality warpers and the like. Then we have MTFs, or Mobile Task Force, the military arm of the Foundation. Anytime, they are the ones to mobilize to guard and recontain an SCP that is breach containment. Oftentimes, the more dangerous SCPs have entire mobile task force with their own code names assigned to them. There's that. And finally, we have D-Class personnel. D-Class are basically convicted criminals. They are inmates who have violent crimes and who have been given life or death sentences and have been given over to the SCP Foundation. D, disposable, meaning they do all the hard grunt work. They are the guinea pigs. They are the lemmings. They are the goats to be sacrificed to these things. Anytime they need something done, you get a D-Class to do it. And being a D-Class is not something you want to be, because it means you'll be exposed to a lot of crazy shit that will, at the very least, kill you. At the very worst, do some horrible, horrible stuff that will make you beg for death. Yeah, but like I said, don't feel too bad for them. Remember, most D-Class personnel are criminals. Now, there are other organizations outside the SCP Foundation that actively opposes them. The most notable one is the cult of the Scarlet King, a powerful outer god eldritch entity that the Foundation have been actively trying to oppose for a long time. We don't know how long it's been going on, but a lot of SCPs are in relation to the Scarlet King. I might get to those in a bit. So, before I start reading, a few notes about the articles in question. Now, all the articles are written in the same format. At the very top, they give the SCP and a numbered designation. Now, fans do give names to the various SCP entries, but as far as the Foundation is concerned, they're only known by their numbered entry. So it'll start like SCP number 227 or something like that. Below it will be the containment class, which is the aforementioned safe, Euclid, or Keter. Then below that is a special containment procedures, which is another possible definition for SCP, special containment procedures, where it will go into detail about how the particular SCP should be contained, what kind of domicile it should be done, how it should be interacted with by Foundation personnel, and any other kind of special triggers or things to be avoided. Then below that is the description. It will give a detailed description of what the SCP is, its anomalous properties, where it was found, and how it was contained. Oftentimes, these will also have addendums, which will include experimentation logs, observation logs, and if the SCP in question is sentient and capable of human interaction or human speech, interview logs, where the Foundation personnel will talk to and interact with the object in question. So, those out of the way, I think it's about time for us to get started with this. I will be looking at a playlist from the Volgan. I won't be playing his videos. The Volgan is probably the best SCP channel on YouTube. Very professional, very nice looking. This is just so that I'll be able to read up certain articles that if I'm blanking on a specific one and I want to know what that SCP is, because I have an idea of what the SCP is, but I just don't know the name of the number of it. This way I can look up the Volgan's list and I'll be able to pick it out and read it for you. But first and foremost, I think we should start off with the very first SCP. All right, first. All right, we're gonna start off with the very first SCP that was ever created for the site. Maybe gotta go up to the. Okay. Now, like I said, there are actually a bunch of there are actually tier lists of what are the most popular and the most well-read of the SCP Foundation's entries. And a lot of people have their own favorites to just look up and read. And this will be the first SCP we'll be looking at. Okay. We'll be looking at SCP-173, the statue. Alright, this one is not going to be very long, but like I said, this is the very, very first SCP. This is the Rhyhorn, or the Rhydon, of SCPs, the very first one ever created. So, we'll go through it like this. SCP-173. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-173 is to be kept in a locked container at all times. When personnel enter SCP-173's container, no fewer than 3 may enter at any given time, and the door must be re-locked behind them. At all times, 2 persons must maintain direct eye contact with 173 until all personnel have vacated and relocked the chamber. Description: moved from Site-19, 1993. Origin of it is as of yet unknown. 173 is constructed from concrete and rebar with traces of Krylon brand spray paint. 173 is animate and extremely hostile. Object cannot move within direct line of sight. Line of sight must not be broken at any time with the SCP. Personnel assigned to enter container are instructed to alert one another before blinking. Object is reported to attack by snapping necks at the base of the skull or by strangulation. In the event of an attack, personnel are to observe Class 4 hazardous object containment procedures. Personnel report sounds of scraping stone originating from within the container when no one is present. This is considered normal, and any change in this behavior should be reported to the acting HMCL supervisor on duty. The reddish-brown substance on the floor is a combination of feces and blood. Origin of these materials are unknown. The enclosure must be cleaned on a bi-weekly basis. Yeah, simple, to the point, nothing much. It's basically a weeping angel. Yep, but instead of sending you back through time, it will fucking snap your neck. But let's get into some of the more interesting ones. All right, I'm looking through the gotta look through this one. I don't want to freak you out too much. I'm just gonna give a standard one. Okay, we'll go to this one. It's okay. Let's see. Search. Alrighty then. All right, we'll be going to SCP-29. let's see. We'll be going to this one. We'll be going to SCP-2399, also called the Manufactured Destroyer. This one's going to be special because it's actually by order of the Overseer Council. The following file describes a hostile, anomalous alien superstructure capable of causing an SK class barren Earth end of the world event, and is classified 5-2399 classified. Unauthorized access is forbidden. Level top 5 top secret. All right. SCP. All right, hold on. All right. SCP 2399. Containment class Keter. Disruption class Amid. Risk class Danger. Special containment procedures. Due to SCP-2399's location and nature, physical means of containment are currently impossible. Implanted Foundation agents in major observatories are to contain footage or images of 2399. An ongoing misinformation campaign is in effect, which has thus far been able to completely suppress any knowledge pertaining to SCP-2399 from public awareness. Foundation satellites in orbit around Jupiter are to maintain constant vigilance of 2399's reconstruction efforts and make any and all attempts to hinder the process should 2399 reach a minimum state of 75% completion. Additionally, a perimeter of long-range electromagnetic jamming satellites, barrier array, have been situated in high Jupiter orbit. Any and all transmissions intercepted by this array are to be summarily decoded and logged. In the event that of 2399 surpassing 75% completion or an information breach in the jamming perimeter, necessary Foundation personnel will engage in Protocol Legionnaire 5, see Addendum 2399-L5, given its completion by that time. Description: SCP-2399 is a massive, complex mechanical structure currently located in Jupiter's lower atmosphere. Since its visual discovery in 1963, 2399 has been observed to use highly advanced antimatter-based weaponry to create spatial disruptions and disruptive atmospheric data expunge. Observable as a large red vortex commonly known as the Great Red Spot. 2399 appears to be damaged, possibly due to an impact with the moon Io before coming to rest at its current position. 2399 has been observed releasing a multitude of small octopoid repair droids in an effort to repair the damage that it has taken. Some of these drones will remain near 2399, while others will patrol nearby moons or deeper into the gases of Jupiter itself in search of parts that 2399 is missing. Computer models estimate that 2399 is at 59% completion, with a current rate of 0.78% annually. This rate has increased to an estimated 0.12% in 1970. Despite its state, 2399 seems to possess a limitless power supply, advanced electromagnetic shielding, matter-disrupting weaponry, the ability to repair damage done to itself, and a precise tracking and targeting system, see Addendum 2399-2B. Due to the large difference in technological advancement between the creator of 2399 and our own, for all intents and purposes, 2399 is currently indestructible by any and all human means. In theory, 2399 may be left vulnerable by a powerful enough electromagnetic pulse. Unfortunately, this technology does not exist yet. Since 1971, 2399 has been the recipient of an unending stream of electromagnetic-based communications originating from the Trigilium galaxy, roughly 3 million light-years from Earth. The means by which 2399's travel to our solar system and the means of its communication are all unknown. From 1971 to 1985, 2399 continuously receives a single encoded message which, through code breaking and translation efforts, appear to be a command to repair the damage it incurred upon entering our solar system. After this time, the barrier array was established to intercept these messages. This coincided with a period of radio silence from the origin of the communications until 1996, when a different order began transmitting. The barrier array has thus far prevented 2399 from receiving this command. See Addendum 2399 Comlog. SCP-2399 Discovery Notes. 2399 was originally observed, albeit unknowingly, by Giovanni Cassini in 1665. The following was taken from Cassini's journal on the event, translated from Italian to English. Date 8/10/1665. I have observed something extraordinary in the heavens. Last night, as I gazed through my looking glass, I saw what appeared to be a star of great luminescence streak through the far reaches of our solar system. I never recorded an object moving so fast. It had superseded the other planets by fewer than 2 hours. As I watched with my own 2 eyes, I saw it slow down as it got closer to Jupiter, make a sharper turn, and then disappear into the planet itself. I saw many blasts of light afterwards, although I continued to peer into it until the sun broke. I saw no additional disturbances in the night sky. I must continue to document these changes and will alert my colleagues when the day is upon me. 15/10/1665. I took a peep to my observatory last night, but a week from the night I saw the fire rain upon Jupiter in the heavens. He brought along his own looking glass, and together we aimed our view upon the giant. To our surprise, a magnificent change had occurred. Once in the distant world only showed bands of color, there was now a great red spot where the star had came to rest on the surface of Jupiter. Peter was incredulous, of course, that such an amazing discovery had taken place right before our eyes. I will continue to make a note of this. 8/10/1665. Tonight, as I peered through my looking glass, I swear upon my life that I observed what looked to me like explosions and starbursts emitting from our red spot. I fear my mind is playing tricks on me, but there has been no record of such violent outbursts by a heavenly body since the dawn of astronomy. I will consult Peter on the morrow and hopefully glean from him some advice on the matter. 19/10/1665. Peter sees the same as I. As I approach him with my concerns, he leveled the same with me, and through our own followed the discussion, we concluded it must be a powerful reaction to the falling star I saw upon the first night, and not the product of our own shortcomings. I am left wondering what cataclysmic event must be taking place on our heavenly neighbor. Our work to document this must go on. Addendum 2399 2B. After hours on Barrier Unit 53 observed one of 2399's repair drones closing in on a piece of debris, quickly determined to be a part of the damaged communications array. Because of the nature of the specific component and the ramifications of allowing 2399 to recover, it was ordered that Barrier Unit 45 fire upon the drone with its onboard concussive batteries. Batteries were discharged. However, the drone appeared undamaged. Footage appeared by Barrier Unit 53 shows that while the payload in question was launched upon the repair drone, it was destroyed within 5 kilometers of the target by additional charges originating from 2399 itself. Man lost contact with Barrier Unit 45 15 seconds after initial charge, with video observations showing 2399 data expunged. The resulting spatial anomaly originating in data expunged. The termination of Barrier Unit 45 by Barrier Unit 44, 51, and 55. Under no circumstances are any Barrier Unit to further engage with either 2399 or drones released by it. Addendum 2399-2C Project Gigas. After the events of it was decided that necessary force would be authorized to destroy or incapacitate 2399. Foundation resources, as well as resources from 45 nations, notably and a platform of warheads bearing megaton payloads and warheads bearing EMP detonators were launched and placed in orbit around Europa on at hours with orders from 15 heads of state and 05, 05, 05, 05, and 05. The entire payload of Project Gigas was launched towards 2399. Data expunged. Effects to develop alternate methods of eliminating 2399 are currently underway. Addendum 2399-L5. Information restricted to level 4 personnel or above. Clearance accepted. So, SCP-2399. Have you ever sat and wondered, maybe after you hear about a car accident on the street that you were just on, or a bombing in a city you were just visiting, how lucky you are to be alive? Just how many things had to go right for you to continue to exist? A few seconds later, a few seconds too early, and somebody reaches for something they dropped, or in a busload of people and run into another busload of people. Sometimes this kind of thing happens, and we've seen it far too often. That's what we're here for. To protect those who can't protect themselves from things that they wouldn't even know to protect themselves from. We can't do it all, though. As many things we've been able to contain, as many things as we've been able to keep under lock that would threaten to destroy us all, still far too many remain that we can't do a thing about. Whether they're too big or too fast or too powerful, any of these things could blink and wipe humanity from existence. The fact that they haven't done so yet is just luck. 2399, however, is different. We have little information regarding 2399's motives, origins, or full capacities or capabilities. We do not understand how it is capable of communicating over such large distances, or why those who constructed it was in fact constructed, sent it to us in the first place. We do not know what would happen if 2399 was able to fully repair itself, or if part of our array would break down and a message would get through. We do not know this, so we must assume the worst. Judging by from what we've seen, were 2399 to reach Earth, it would have lead to our timely destruction. But sometimes humanity gets a little help. Sometimes something steps in the way of our apocalypse. For us, and for 2399, it was Jupiter. As 2399 began to slow its approach to Earth, Cassini saw that we were able to ascertain that 2399 struck Io, was damaged, and was unable to escape the gravitational pull of Jupiter. Its weapons activated as they were intended, but Jupiter was Jupiter that experienced doomsday, not us. Eventually, though, it's likely that 2399 will resume full functionality and will likely be able to pull away from Jupiter and proceed to its target. As of now, we can keep hurling bombs and EMPs at it all we want, but we've got no indication that any of it will so much as scratch the damn thing. On the contrary, experience dictates that it will do nothing at all. If this were to happen, it will be undoubtedly destroyed. Jupiter has given us time. For now, 2399 will remain there, reassembling itself while we devise a way to stop it. Like it or not, we're in an arms race with this thing. Our best guesses give us something like 25 years until it would be able to hear past its dampening array. Until then, we must seize the opportunity that has been laid before us. We must use the time we've been given and let it not be to waste. So we devised Protocol Legionnaire, one giant EMP powered by God knows what, followed by a volley of nukes big enough to wipe out our civilization 1,000 times over. A blunt plan, and simple, and likely futile. Our researchers around the globe have yet to devise a way to deliver that kind of pulse, let alone a way to power it. There is no indication whatsoever that we'll be able to complete Legionnaire on time, and even if we do what is intended, once it's completed. But we must try. We must do something. Even if we have to drain our banks and empty our minds, we must try. Not only do we have a chance to see the swerving bus that will end our lives and step out of the way, Jupiter unknowingly has offered us a chance. I suggest we take it. Randall McAllen, Director, Barrier Project. Site. Addendum 2399, Comlog. Information restricted to level 4 personnel or above. All messages logged are to be understood as in having repeated themselves continuously until either a new message is logged or a logged instance of radio silence. 1971. Unit is damaged. Repair. 1985. Updated orders. Maintain position. Repair. 1985. Period of radio silence. Barrier array is established. 1996. Unit is out of range of target. Proceed to planet number 3 in solar system. Coordinates redacted. Repair. 2015. Unit is out of range of target. Proceed to planet number 3 in system. Coordinates redacted. Priority is target. Cease repairs. Footnotes. The repair of SCP-1396 has been proposed, but has been yet deemed unfeasible. Yep. Yeah, that's right. The red spot of Jupiter is actually a gigantic doomsday machine that was originally going to probably destroy us if it hadn't hit the moon of Io and landed in the gravitational atmosphere of Jupiter. Yeah, it's like watching. It's basically like watching being on the Titanic and knowing you're going to hit the iceberg and doing everything in your power to stop you from hitting the iceberg. See the iceberg coming. All that's left for us to do is try to turn out of the way. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can find it. There was actually one that's kind of what is it? It's kind of sad, and I'm gonna see if I can find it. If it's, and I'll try to see if I can find it right quick. All right, I'm gonna do a general search of it. All right, I actually read this to Pugsley on Discord once, and this is actually one of her favorites. SCP-1470, aka the telepathic spider. Let's get started. SCP-1470, object class neutralized, formerly safe. Special containment procedures. The remains of SCP-1470 have been laid to rest in a small plastic case within the podium section of its terrarium. See below. The terrarium is to remain stocked with saddlesides and the offspring of 1470 and observed. Pending end of quarantine period, the offspring may be introduced into the wild with no anomalous behavior detected. All personnel have been cleared of quarantine after exposure to 1470 with no effects. Previous containment procedures ended May 7th, 2008. SCP-1470 is to be housed in a soundproof terrarium measuring 0.75 meters by 2 meters by 0.60 meters tall. Terrarium includes a small source of fresh running water and includes flora common to the Australian state of Queensland. The northeast corner of the terrarium has been modified to allow for communication with 1470. This location is referred to henceforth as the podium. 1470 requires regular social contact and is scheduled for interviews 3 times daily, allowing for regular nocturnal sleep schedule. If personnel wish to conduct an unscheduled interview with 1470 for any reason, they may do so by entering the chamber and vocalizing their intent to speak with 1470. Which will enter the podium and respond as it is able. It's not necessary to speak verbally when communicating with 1470, but vocalizations with words help convey meaning more clearly than thinking of abstract concepts and allows for easier transcription of communication. 1470 is not capable of understanding the full range of human thought, so it is highly recommended that researchers only use the most basic concepts and short statements. 1470's terrarium should be stocked with a monitored population of mundane saltilids, web-building spiders, and their own prey insects to serve as prey for 1470. The best way to distinguish 1470 from other saltellits within the terrarium is to ask to wave its arms. Personnel working with 1470 must report for any psychological screening for a weekly basis for a period of no less than a year after exposure. Description: SCP-1470 is a male fringed jumping spider, Portia fimbriata, recovered from Queensland, Australia. Its body measures 6.3 millimeters. In life, 1470 was sapient and capable of telepathic communication with other sapient beings at a range of approximately 9 meters, although 1470 was otherwise not notably any different from other members of its species in behavior or physiology. The Queensland population of P. fimbriata are already observed to be much more intelligent than other spiders for its ability to solve problems and employ unique hunting tactics to capture its prey, which primarily consists of other spiders, both of the web-spinning varieties and other members of its family which they belong to. Apart from its ability to communicate with research personnel, 1470 displayed no other behavior that was deviant from what is typical of the Queensland variant of P. fimbriata. However, due to its anomalous ability to communicate, it's not recommended that any other conclusions about the species be drawn based on the experiences with 1470. Communication. 1470's method of telepathic broadcast appears to assign terms on a best fit basis within the minds which receive its communications. When 1470 referred to parts of its own body which do not directly correspond with human anatomy, the terms are adjusted based on the content. For example, while leg is a straightforward translation, references to 1470's palps are typically perceived as arm by researchers. Refer to the following statement received after an unsuccessful attempt to introduce 1470 to a mate. I went at the bloody harlot waving me arms around, like to let her know what was up, but she wasn't having none of it. She smacked her lips at me and gave me a good drumming with the arms and legs, and I know it because of that hideous red stripe you asked me to put on me arse. It really makes a fellow stand out in ways he's not supposed to, you know? Those savages may not notice it, but you can't fool a proper lady like her. So anyway, I'll tie a bungee around and make a jump for it before sailing back to me tent to nurse me pride. As typical of statements made by 1470, it is perceived in a way that could almost be spoken by another human. It was also typical to perceive these statements in a strong regional dialect. Note, however, that harlot is used as a derogatory term and not to imply prostitution, a concept alien to 1470. Lips refer to the celeraceae, where the spider's fangs are stored. Arms are referred to as palps bordering the mouth, which are larger in the males and used for display purposes. In this case, they were used to make the female aware of 1470's presence and lack of intent to harm her. Arse refers to abdomen, and the red stripe was painted there at one time to distinguish 1470 from the other spiders. Tie a bungee refers to laying down a safety line of silk before making a jump off the surface the spiders were located on, and sailing is a straightforward description of drifting down to a loose strand of silk while airborne. Likewise, tent refers to 1470's web, a structure used purely for shelter. The red stripe was removed from 1470 afterwards, and a less mature female was introduced to the terrarium. The following excerpt was taken from the subsequent interview. Hey, not so loud, mate. You'll wake up the little Sheila. Your interaction with her has gone better. How's she doing? Oh, she was pretty scared when she got tossed in here with those big predators. At least I think she was. She can't talk to me like we can talk. None of them ever can. But she shows she cares for me in her own way. She asked me back to her place, and we're gonna stay there until she's ready. Ready for what? You know! Can't be a gentleman if we talk about it so plainly, you know? Not the way you guys do. Anyway, I guess I should thank you. It's not what I wanted, but it will do. You told me you wanted a mate. I told you I wanted a wife. A mate's a friend. We're mates, right? You're fun to talk to, but I wanted someone I could look in the eyes while I talk to him. We never found anyone else that can talk like you do. Well, that's what separates us from the savages, right? You mean your prey species? Right. You're different from them. Because you talk like I do. I would never eat something like that could talk. She can't talk, but I can tell she's like me. She just needs to grow up some. That's right. That'll be very soon. She'll probably catch more savages than me, though. We'll have good children if that big harlot keeps a distance. We removed her from the area. Well, I hope you didn't hurt her too much, then. Note that the cohabitation of the same web made by a male and a sexually immature female is not uncommon for pre-Frimbetia. The female's maturity was reached within the next 2 weeks, and 1470 left the web after copulation. As normal for the species, the female did not devour or kill 1470. Excerpts of final interview. Oh, hey! Anybody out there? Hello, I'm here. We were just doing some work on your enclosure. Oh, what, the podium? It's enclosed, but I don't see you in here. I'm outside your podium. The podium doesn't have an outside, you daft bint. How can I get outside of it? Do you see me waving my arm at you? Unintelligible, wordless dread would be the most accurate description of what I felt from 1470, which fled the podium shortly thereafter in a manner that would suggest it was trying to avoid a predator. Spiders have excellent vision, although at a very short range. 1470 has reacted to us visually before, but never in such a manner that would suggest that it realized we were the beings it was speaking to. Dr. Westington. I will not hurt you. We talk with you, and we want you to live. Oh, I never realized you were so big. How can anything be so big? 1470 refuses to communicate for 2 hours. I remain at the podium, attempting to coax him back into interaction. Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought we were alike, but you just wanted to stay hidden because I was kind of the king of the jungle around here. At least I thought I was. Maybe I should have. We tried hard not to alarm you. What are you? I don't have any answers that will make sense to you, but I understand that you're scared. I've been scared too, by things as big to me as I am to you. If that hurts to think about, I understand that too. The children won't talk to me. The ones that live are doing all right. Guess that isn't important to something like you, though. It will be my job to watch them. We're hoping they could talk like you do. Ha! You and me both. Oh, I'm pretty tired and itchy now. I want to go change my coat, but I can't. Sorry for getting all weird on you earlier. I wanted to know there was nice to talk to someone while it lasted. Note from Dr. Westington. 1470 lived a total of 3 months in Foundation custody before perishing of natural causes. He was not fully mature at the time of containment, so his total lifespan was estimated to be approximately 4 months. Yep. Kind of sad. I mean, just thinking about it, it's just, like how do you properly explain your own existence to an insect? Like, how do you explain what you are? And he was right. And I don't think insects can even comprehend what we are. We're probably just big things to them. But to actually be able to have it vocally internalized in your head, to be able to say, "What the hell are you?" And it sucks he didn't get to live very long. I mean, but spiders don't have very long lifespans, so that's understandable. And as of right now, we have no idea if the spider's children are capable of telepathic communication like it is. All right, something little less. Let's go to one that's a little bit less depressing. And I know the perfect one. All right, and we're going on to this one. If you guys are still here, thank you very much. And we're going on to SCP-343, aka God. SCP-343, Object Class, Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-343 resides in a 6.1 meter by 6.1 meter or 20 foot by 20 foot room of minimal security safety site number 17. It should be brought any items it requests and be visited by at least one staff member per day. Any attempts to add further security precautions or require clearances are unnecessary / impossible due to the nature of 343. See description. Description. SCP-343 is a male, seemingly raceless humanoid in appearance with apparent omnipotence. 343 was discovered walking down the streets of Prague and detained after a staff member witnessed him disappear from the streets and reappear on a rooftop. 343 was detained willingly in his chamber as containment has proved impossible. See notes. Addendum 343-1. 343, colloquially nicknamed God by the staff here, looks like an old man, although his features are different to each observer. In my first talk with him, he outright claimed to be the creator of the universe. When I asked him to prove this, he laughed, walked through the wall of the chamber, and returned seconds later with a hamburger in his hand. When I returned for a second visit, the previously bare cell had been furnished to an upscale, Old English-style apartment, complete with a roaring fireplace and seemingly many times larger on the inside than it is from the exterior. 343 greatly enjoys speaking with people and seems to have a knowledge on all subjects. Visiting with 343 has become a daily event for many of the staff here, and all employees report feeling generally happier after each visit. Attempts to bar staff below level 3 clearance have proven unsuccessful, as guards assigned to watch the room quit their posts saying, "You know he likes company," or shrugging when questioned. Since 343 has thus far been harmless, all staff have been allowed access, and somehow they have had time to meet with him for as long as they need to. For now, I will leave this report open for further questioning of 343 is ongoing. Dr. Beck. Warning: SL4 or higher needed to further access. Addendum 343-2. In regards to document 343-1A, there are no relevant records available or seemingly in existence, and similarly, all records of Dr. ever working with 343 or Dr. Beck are missing and are presumed non-existent. All staff questioned about the document convey ignorance of document 343-1A and claim to have not met Dr. In related matter, senior officer Dr. Beck has requested higher staff rotation, quote, to increase morale in worse off sections, unquote. This is a very odd request and was the subject of further investigation. Other localized anomalies such as better health, greater job satisfaction, and lower fatalities in this section have led to a request being granted. The subject is now closed on orders of 05. Addendum 343-3. Data recovered from routine check of Dr.'s network drive. Document 343-1A. Data lost. As of data expunge, visitors of 343 have been questioned as to their intent and convert data lost. Questions pertaining to other SCP are to be put forth data lost by orders of Dr. 343-1B. Data lost. Apparently my orders have gone missing. This is the last straw, data lost. All of my reports and requests to the higher-ups have gone unnoticed. I will confront 343 tomorrow. Signed, Dr. Yeah. Also, in case you're wondering, the reason why I kind of go blank is because a lot of the documentation in these that can be blacked out for whatever reason, meaning that it was redacted by the 05 Council, so you're not supposed to know it. So it's not a problem with your audio equipment. It's just how it's done in the lore. All right. So we did a benevolent one. How about we go to perhaps one of the most infamous, hated, and feared SCPs in the entire lore. The SCP-268, SCP-286, The unkillable lizard. Yep, this one is going to be a dark one. Hold on to your butts. SCP-682. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-682 must be destroyed as soon as possible. At this time, no available means to SCP teams are capable of destroying 682, only able to cause massive physical damage. 682 should be contained within a 5 meter by 5 meter by 5 meter chamber with 25 centimeter reinforced acid-resistant steel plating lining all inside surfaces. The containment chamber should be filled with hydrochloric acid until 682 is submerged and incapacitated. Any attempts of 682 to move, speak, or breach containment should be reacted to as quickly as possible and with full force as called upon by the circumstances. Personnel are forbidden to speak 682 for fear of provoking a rage state. All unauthorized personnel attempting to communicate with 682 will be restrained and removed by force. Due to his frequent attempts to containment breach, difficulty of containing or incapacitating, and high threat from Foundation exposure, 682 is to be contained at site redacted. The Foundation will use its best resources to maintain all land within a 50-kilometer clear of human development. Description: SCP-682 is a large, vaguely reptile-like creature of unknown origin. It appears to be extremely intelligent and was observed engaging in complex communication with SCP-079 during their limited time of exposure. 682 appears to have a hatred for all life, which has been expressed in several interviews during containment. See Addendum 682-B. 682 has always been observed to have extremely high levels of strength, speed, and reflexes, although exact levels vary with its forms. 682's physical body grows and changes at very quickly, growing or decreasing in size as it consumes or sheds material. 682 gains energy from anything it ingests, inorganic or organic. Digestion seems to be aided by a set of filtration gills inside of its nostrils, which is able to remove usable matter from any liquid solution, enabling it to constantly regenerate from the acid it is contained in. 682's regenerative capabilities and resistance are staggering. 682 has been seen moving and speaking with its body 87% destroyed or rotted. In the case of containment breach, 682 is to be tracked and recaptured by all available mobile task force, and no teams fewer than 7 members are cleared to engage it. To date, attempted breaches have numbered at 17, while successful breaches have numbered 6. See Addendum 682-D. Addendum 682-B. Portion of recorded transcript. Begin log. Dr. Skip to 21 minutes, 52 seconds. Now, why did you kill those farmers? No verbal communication from 682. If you don't talk now, we will remove you from this attempt and place you back into... Pardon? Motions to move closer to the microphone. Speak up. Personnel D-085. Move the mic closer. They were. Personnel D-085. The mic has only so much gain. Move it closer. His throat's messed up, man. Look at it. He ain't talking. They were disgusting. Doctor retreats from the room. End log. Addendum 682-D. Breaches with 682. First occurrence, Handled by Agent KIA. Personnel D-129 KIA. Personnel -027 KIA. Personnel -D-173 KIA. Personnel D-200 KIA. Personnel -193 KIA. Second occurrence. Handled by Agent Doctor. Personnel -124. Personnel -D-137 KIA. Personnel D-201 KIA. Personnel D-203 202 KIA. Personnel D-203 KIA. Third occurrence. Handled by Agent Master Sergeant Agent KIA. Personnel D-018 KIA. Personnel D-211 KIA. Personnel D-216. Fourth occurrence. Handled by Agent Staff Sergeant Trained T Sergeant Private Lieutenant Staff Sergeant KIA. Colonel KIA. Private KIA. Private KIA. Agent KIA. Fifth occurrence. Handled by Personnel D-2021 Agent KIA. Agent KIA. Agent KIA. Personnel D-028 KIA. Personnel D-111 KIA. Personnel D-281 KIA. Personnel D-209 KIA. Sixth occurrence. Handled by Agent Personnel D-291 MIA. Agent KIA. Agent KIA. Personnel D-299 KIA. Personnel D-27 277 KIA. Personnel D-278 KIA. Personnel D-279 KIA. Addendum 682-E. Termination options. Log of event 682-E18. Doctor attempts to use SCP-409 on 682. General and Doctor observing. 0400 exposure. 682 begins to tear at the point of contact, causing massive trauma to the area. 6082 requests several times to know what it's been exposed to. 0800 hours. Crystallization begins, spreading much slower than normal. 1200 hours. 682 shows signs of extreme pain and begins to have seizures. 1300. Crystallization stops at 62% conversion. Crystallization area explodes, causing massive physical trauma to 682. 1400 hours. 682 begins to recover from exposure despite loss of limbs and organs. 682 begins regeneration, stating that it will attempt to kill and consume all staff involved in Event 682-E18. 682 appears to now be immune to SCP-409. Use of other SCP items to terminate 682 must now be first tested on samples of 682 before full-scale testing. In accordance with Dr. Recommendation, see document 27B-6, Dr. have requested permission to attempt termination of 682 using SCP-689. Request is currently pending approval from the... It has also been suggested by Dr. Gears to use SCP-182 in an attempt to communicate with 682. 182 has expressed reluctance and refuses to enter containment center with 682 if at all possible. Yeah, there we go. That is an unkillable lizard. That thing is terrifying. It is extremely intelligent and very, very deadly. And it can heal from almost anything. It's like Doomsday on crack. And there's actually a massive termination log for it, but I'm not gonna read it here. I'm not gonna blow my voice out for it. All right. Let's go. Let's look for another one. I know. Here's a good one. This one will definitely put a smile on your face if you're still watching. Again, like I said, if you're hearing blanks in the transmission, that's just me passing over the blanks ones. All right. Passing over the blotted out ones. And this is a personal favorite of mine. This is the 662, also known as Mr. Deeds. Enjoy. SCP-662. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-662 should be kept in its red velvet lined case and stored in a high-value storage locker 223C, located at, when not being utilized for testing or other appropriate activities. The item itself should be safe to handle and pose no threat of any kind, though the effects generated could be considered highly valuable and variably powerful depending upon how it is used. Description: SCP-682 is a small, silver-handled bell, 4 centimeters tall and 2 centimeters in circumference. The bell is missing its ringer. With the inside of the bell is an inscription that is etched into the silver reading, "Forever Mine, SJW." The bell is susceptible to damage. However, given its safe nature, destruction has been deemed unnecessary. As it is made of very pure silver, it requires... When the bell is shaken, as if ringing it, a soft chime can be heard, although it does not come from the bell. A short, well-dressed Caucasian butler of self-proclaimed British heritage, calling himself Mr. Deeds, will appear from the nearest area not within line of sight, usually from around a corner. Mr. Deeds will address the ringer of the bell by their appropriate title and last name, and ask what they desire. His knowledge of individuals' last names and titles are a mystery, as he himself will purport. Please see interview log 662-L1 for further details. Most reasonable requests given to Mr. Deeds will be completed in satisfaction. However, there are limits to what he can do. He is unable to produce complex items such as sports cars, luxury homes, or personal jets. If he is allowed to leave line of sight and return, he is able to produce smaller, less complex items such as a ham sandwich, a glass of iced tea, and even more luxurious items like caviar or a brick of gold. A list of notable items the butler has thus far been able to provide to those who ring may be found in Addendum 662-81. Mr. Deeds will also perform menial tasks such as washing cars, preparing food, and cleaning bathrooms. If the request is deemed unreasonable or made impossible by the butler, he will kindly tell the ringer so and offer an alternative if one may be had. The butler is not immune to ill actions taken against him while in sight. He has been killed and injured in multiple tests and will remain dead or injured until he's out of sight. Upon return with a ring of a bell, all previous injuries will have vanished and he will be groomed and well dressed in his uniform and ready for the next order. A more detailed explanation of the jobs he can perform and the limits by which he may be put to can be found in the aforementioned interview log 662-L1. Test logs related to his ability to heal himself and those of the properties of the bell may be accessed by any level 2 or higher personnel. Any and all attempts to catch Mr. Deeds disappearing have failed, as equipment will either fail or he will find a suitable unobserved spot. Addendum 662-A1. Items and tasks request and results. Items: nearly any kind of conceivable sandwich. Human flesh has been requested as lunch meat and politely declined. Beverages of nearly any kind. As with sandwich meat, human blood has been requested and denied. Pig blood, however, will be served promptly, still warm. A brick of 99.98% pure gold. Mr. Deeds procured a brick of 99.14% pure gold and apologized for not being able to provide the requested purity. A brick of 99.24% pure silver. A nuclear bomb, politely declined. A hand grenade of modern U.S. military grade, which performed as expected in testing. A blue 1963 convertible Corvette, politely declined. A board game, Monopoly, which Mr. Deeds won on the first playthrough. A Fabergé egg, politely declined. SCP, politely declined. A bouquet of freshly picked roses. A bouquet of wild thorn busties, politely declined. Tern busties is not an actual type of flower. Task: cleaning Dr. Marp's car, form to near perfection. Washing of dishes accumulated from a day's worth of meals at the cafeteria on level of performed to much higher standard than usual. Trimming of Dr. Murph's beard, performed, but as it turns out, Mr. Deeds is not in fact a very good barber. Washing of Dr. Murph's laundry, performed, and the clothes found to fit better in Dr. Murph's estimation. The assassination of Osama bin Laden, slightly declined. These claimed that bin Laden was too well guarded and entrenched, but could not or would not give further details. The assassination of a D-class individual in a room over, performed with vicious precision using a buck knife to the throat. Note: further tests with regard to Dr. Murph's personal effects are to be forbidden unless approved by 105 level overseer. You have been warned, Dr. Murph. 05. Interview log. Interviewed SCP 662-1, Mr. Deeds. Interviewer, Dr. Murph. Forward. Interview conducted with 662-1, henceforth referred to as Mr. Deeds, for further background information and testing of anomalous capabilities. Begin log. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Murph. How may I be of service? Firstly, may I have your name? Certainly, you may call me Mr. Deeds. Is that your real name? It is not my birth name, no, sir. What would that be, and where were you born? Unfortunately, I cannot remember my full name, sir, nor am I positive of my place of birth, though I believe it to be located somewhere in England. Do you recall where you were born, Mr. Deeds? I am truly sorry to disappoint you again, sir, but I do not recall that either, though it must have been some time ago, for I do not believe I was born in this era. Can you approximate it? Again, sir, I apologize for my lack of self-knowledge. I am a bit of a shut-in. So, Mr. Deeds nodded at the bell and smiled. What's the earliest mode of transportation you were able to recall seeing in person or utilized from the past? Horse and buggy, sir, although bicycles were just becoming a fad with the wealthy, if I recall correctly. Quite took off, didn't they, sir? Mr. Deeds smiled again. You needn't call me sir any longer. I appreciate it, but it's becoming a bit grating. Very well. Why do you suppose that you can't remember the things you remember these things? I can't quite say. Mr. Deeds shifts his weight in his chair and looked a bit uncomfortable for a moment before resuming his posture. Or is it that you may or will not say? That may be the case, sir, but perhaps I may not say, though again, begging your pardon, I do not recall why that is. Very well, moving on. Where is it that you go when you fetch items that you serve for those you served? Well, sir, you see, Mr. Deeds' face contorts momentarily as if he's in great pain, before he quickly resumed a more relaxed visage. I don't actually recall that either. Why did you wince when I asked these kinds of questions? I do not know. Never mind that for now. We'll get answers eventually. Now then, I have a request. Oh, very well. How may I be of further assistance? I would like a glass of iced tea. And a glass for yourself, if you like. What kind of iced tea would you prefer? Surprise me. Certainly. Mr. Deeds stood up and walked to the door to the interrogation room and tried the handle. Finding it locked, he turned and smiled at Dr. Murph. What seems to be the problem? I must leave your presence to do as you requested, sir. Why is that? Visibly uncomfortable again. It is Dr. Murph. Okay. Open the door, Agent Graves. Mr. Deeds left the room. He proceeds down the hallway under visual surveillance via camera and Agent Graves. He paused momentarily at another door, shook his head, looked at the camera and then at Agent Graves, and then he ran down the hallway and rounded the corner. Agent Graves did not follow, as he had been instructed to maintain guard on the door to the interrogation room. Still under camera surveillance, Mr. D proceeds down the hall and continued through the hall of the complex, presumably searching for an exit or an area not under surveillance. Finally, he stopped halfway down corridor 2D. At this point, all 3 cameras in the corridor 2D malfunctioned, including 2 that were hidden. Exactly 3 minutes later, the cameras resumed normal functionality, revealing Mr. D standing in the same position, but with a tray holding 2 glasses of iced tea in hand. He then quickly made his way back to the interrogation room. Ah, you've returned. I was beginning to worry. My apologies for the delay. Finding a way out was troublesome. But not to worry, I brought the tea, as you asked. I do hope you enjoy it. What kind is it? Southern-style sweet tea. Mr. D places a glass in front of Dr. Murph and resumes his seat at the other end of the table. Dr. Murph hesitantly sniffed the tea, smiled, and took a sip. It's quite good, Mr. Deeds. In fact, this is perhaps the best sweet tea I've ever had. Delicious. Did you make it yourself? I do dislike disappointing you, Dr. Murph, but I do not recall. I assumed I did, but alas, my mind is not. You've only been gone. Dr. Murph looks at his watch. About 10 minutes, Mr. Deeds. Are you telling me that your memory is so terrible that you can't remember what happened 10 minutes ago or the time in between? I recall looking for a way out, and I recall returning with the tea, but that is all. But not how or where you acquired the tea. Unfortunately, no. Mr. Deeds was visibly uncomfortable again. Very well, I have a request. Another request. As you wish. I like a bar of gold. What percentage of pureness would you like? 99.98% if you please. That may be possible. Now, let me see. We'll disable the cameras in the hall outside, and Agent Graves will wait in the interrogation room with me to make your trip a little faster this time. Very much appreciated. Shall I? Yes. Mr. Deeds exits the hallway, where, despite what Dr. Murph claimed, the cameras were not turned off. He paused for a moment, looking up at the closest camera, shook his head, and began traveling down the hallways of the complex as before. Corridor 2B, he paused, and once more at the cameras, hidden or visible, in the corridor malfunctioned. Exactly 10 minutes and 37 seconds later, the cameras began functioning again, to show Mr. Deeds had once again in the same position, with a bar of gold in one hand. He then returned to the interrogation room. That took a little longer than last time. Any reason? But it seems the cameras in the hallway remained on, so I had to find a suitable way out again. I apologize for the delay. Also, I was not able to acquire the bar of gold to the pureness you requested, but I assure you, this bar is of 99.14% pure. Very impressive. We'll be testing it, I'm sure you know. I did not know that you would, but it would make sense, I suppose. Will there be anything else, Dr. Murph? Yes. For your next task, I'd like you to acquire for me a blue 1963 Corvette convertible. I am quite sorry, but that is not possible. Why not? I really want one. Again, I cannot say as to why, except that I know that one cannot be gotten via my methods. And what are those methods? I do not recall. Very well. I like a Fabergé egg. Any will do. Ah, well, regretfully, that well isn't possible. Well, and I suppose you cannot say why. That is correct. How about some caviar? Any brand or type will do. That I can do. Mr. Deeds once more enters the hallway outside the interrogation room. This time the cameras were turned off after visual communication with after visual confirmation of Mr. Deeds' entry into the hallway. 1 minute later, the cameras were turned back on, but Mr. Deeds had already returned to the interrogation room at this point. That was considerably faster than Mr. Deeds. It only took you 32 seconds. This caviar is quite good. I'm pleased to hear it. One more thing before we end this session, Mr. As you wish. I wish for you to assassinate Osama bin Laden. Afraid I cannot do that at this time, Mr. Dr. Moth. Perhaps someone closer and less heavily guarded. Very well. Then let's make it the gentleman in the next room over. Indeed. Mr. Deeds once again enters the hallway. After visual confirmation, the cameras were momentarily turned off. When turned back on, they revealed the door to the next interrogation room as it was shutting. The camera in that room showed Mr. Deeds entering the room with a large buck knife hidden under one arm. Mr. Deeds approached waiting the D-class personnel and deftly slit his throat in one quick motion of the knife. Deeds watches as the D-class personnel went through the motions of death, avoiding their attempts to grab him. Once the D-class individual was visibly dead, Mr. Deeds returned to the interrogation room from whence he came. The deed is done. The deed is done then? Indeed. Here is the knife I used as proof. Why could you do this thing but not the other? I cannot say, except that I simply knew one was possible while the other was not. So you don't know how you know the things you like, my last name and my title, or whether or not a task is possible? That is correct. Very well, I believe we're done here for now. But I do need to consult with my colleagues at some point. Please wait here until I return. Certainly. Dr. Marv and Agent Graves leave the room. Dr. Marv returns 2 hours later. Video surveillance shows Mr. Deeds did not move during this interval. Mr. Deeds, my colleagues and I have some disagreements about you. That is most unfortunate. We feel these disagreements can be more resolved by examining you more intensely. Certainly, Dr. Marth. To be specific, we want to examine you internally. Certainly, Dr. Marth. We'd like to do an autopsy. Ah, shall I kill myself for you? And since you'll be examining my internal organs, do you have a preferred method of death? Yes, if that's possible. Certainly is possible, Dr. Marth. Might I suggest having me cut my own throat so that I may exsanguinate? The buck knife I used to kill Mr. Redacted is conveniently at hand, and although other methods are more available, they would either take longer or damage my organs such that they will no longer accurately represent my pre-mortem state. I suppose that's acceptable. At this point, Mr. Deeds took the buck knife and placed the edge against his throat. Wait! Yes, Dr. Mirth? Before you do that, you will come back afterwards, correct? I'm sorry, Dr. Mirth. I don't quite understand. After the pawn shop incident when you were killed, you came back to life after when Sergeant rang the bell. You say so, Dr. Mirth. Will you come back again? I have no idea, Dr. Mirth. If I did before, then presumably I will again. Unless something has changed. Have you any further questions before I make the incision? I do recommend you step back, as I would have a hate for my blood to soil your clothing. Death throats can be untidy. No, I suppose not. Carry on. Very well, Dr. Murph, and in the event I do not come back to life, it has been a genuine pleasure to serve you. Mr. Deeds then slices through his own throat and bled to death. A post-mortem examination of the body revealed to be an ordinary in every way, though it is noted that Mr. Deeds was not suffering from any noticeable disease or physical condition, and was in fact in near perfect health at the time of death. The contents of his stomach consist of Southern-style sweet tea, normal stomach acids, and no more. The Deeds' body was then left on the operating table while the lights in the room and the camera were turned off. All personnel left the room, and upon returning, no trace of Mr. Deeds, be it his blood on the instruments used or other physical traces of such as his organs removed, let alone the actual body, remained. Further reading of SCP of 662 resulted in Mr. Deeds' appearance after 3 minutes. He showed no signs of injury, and was dressed as one would expect in modern uniformity commonly worn by butlers. As expected, he could not explain how he managed to survive. He was then ordered to give Dr. Murph a full-body massage, which he performed much to Dr. Murph's satisfaction. Dr. Murph claimed it was, quote, the best damn rub-down I've ever had. My back pain is completely gone. End log. Closing statements. Lucky son of a bitch. Doctor. Acquisition report. SCP-6062 was discovered in possession of a petty thief and grave robber in USA. The thief was in the process of selling 662 to a pawn shop in the mentioned town when the bell was accidentally rung by the pawn shop attendee. Mr. Deeds appeared from the storage area behind the counter and promptly addressed the attendant. Believing he was about to be robbed by the two men, the attendant overreacted and managed to get a hold of a sawed-off shotgun from under the counter. Mr. Deeds was fatally wounded by the attendant and died on scene. The thief escaped but was apprehended by Foundation agents after a week-long search of the surrounding towns. Under questioning, the thief revealed that he had found the bell in a box of the grave located on the outskirts of the above-mentioned town. He was then remitted for D-Class personnel assignment and subsequently perished during the testing of SCP. The bell did not come under the purview of the Foundation until the chime and the subsequent transportation of Mr. Deeds' body to a local morgue. After the disappearance of the body from the morgue, an agent was sent to investigate the possible outbreak of SCP or other unknown necrotic and reinvigorating cause. Mr. Deeds reappeared in the case file item storage room of the local constabulary after the bell was rung by Sergeant. He was quickly apprehended and agent took him into custody 3 hours after reappearance under the guise of an FBI agent. When handcuffed, Mr. Deeds once again disappeared. When agents intuited that the bell itself may have something to do with the string of incidents, and after requiring it and testing proved this hunch, brought the bell back for further testing. Agent was awarded an official Foundation pat-on-the-back plaque for his handling of the incident and lack of self-serving interest once he discovered what the bell and Mr. Deeds were capable of. Well, that was an interesting one. Yep. And I think we're just going to end it right here today, mostly because my ear is bothering me. I'm going to have my mom look into it. It has been muffled as of late. I've been trying to power through it for this one, but it's still distracting. I can't really hear properly out of it. Hopefully my mom can come in and clean it out for me. She has a ear cleaning kit, and if she can't do it, then my sister, who loves cleaning ears for some reason, will try to do it. So I do hope you've enjoyed this. Tune in next time, as we will have a deep dive into the world of War Machine and Hordes, looking over the history of the world of War Machine, as well as the factions and warcasters and all the other stuff. Definitely a good time, especially those who enjoy War Machine content. So until next time, this has been Shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, saying good night and secure